Welcome back to Action Jack-Offs, the show where we talk about the very best and favorite action movies of all time. I am Garrett, joined by my co-host Lincoln from Lincoln Show. Today we're going to be talking
What's up?
about Police Story starring Jackie Chan. This is our first dedicated martial arts movie. How do you feel about that?
It's a wonderful honor. I'm just a visitor here. I'm a guest
You're a
in the
guest,
world of martial arts films
yes, in the house of the many martial
in the house
arts.
of Jackie Chan.
Yeah, so you a big Jackie Chan guy in general, or are you just kind of like you said, a guest?
Just a guest. I mean I've seen most. I've seen not most. I've seen a number of his American films, the Rush Hour films, The Spy Next Door. I'm sure I could run down a few more. I've seen the terrible Karate Kid remake.
Wow, you think that one's
I'm
bad?
I'm familiar with his older work or his later in life work more than his early life work.
Oh, so like you don't know about, which is funny to me because that's more of like where like the most famous of his stuff kind of comes in. And did you know this is kind of funny to me? So he's a big deal in China, right? He's a big deal in Hong Kong.
Really?
Oh, Jackie Chan is like,
Dude, are you serious?
yeah, fuck off. Shut the hell up. But he's a big deal, right? And he's
Yeah.
actually like one of the I think he's like one of the top 6 or top 5 highest paid actors in the world.
Yeah.
um, including Hollywood actors. Like he's one of the big ones. Um, he's won awards. I think he's won an honorary Oscar. Obviously, he's got his own audience here in the states. Like you said, he made it pretty big here with the Rush Hour films. There was a few films that I recall that he was trying to break into the American audiences a couple of times with I think he did one right before this movie that I can't remember the name of, but he also did Rumble in the Bronx, which was another 80s one. I think that was 90s actually. 80s, it was late 80s, early 90s. He did a movie called Rumble in the Bronx that I believe he directed. He's done a lot of his own directing. Like he directed Police Story. Um and he co-wrote
I
it.
did notice that and I was just like, wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, Jack.
Oh, do you know what the where I do have the most Jackie Chan? I didn't even think about it. It's the animated adventures of Jackie
Yeah,
Chan.
Jackie Chan Adventures. Yeah, that
That
was
was
that's another
actually
one.
I did actually watch that a lot growing up.
Yeah, me too. That
I was
that
gonna
was
say
a
there's something that was really iconic from my childhood that I really like Jackie Chan in, but I can't think of it. It was definitely that.
it was definitely that. Yeah. That's probably something that a lot of kids grew up on, especially kids our age. Um like like I remember watching Rumble in the Bronx, liked it. I remember Jackie Chan Adventures. Rush Hours was the big one, I think, for all American audiences because it had Chris Tucker in it. He was really big back then. And then you had those two movies, Shanghai Noon. You ever heard of that one with
Oh
Owen
yes,
Wilson?
yes I do. I have that one on the it's on the VHS shelf. Oh, Around the World in 80 Days. I did
Around the
watch
World.
that
Yep,
one
that's
growing
another
up a
one.
lot.
Yeah,
Kung Fu Pandas.
yeah, he was Monkey in Kung Fu Panda. Uh, Most recently, I think the big American movie he did The Foreigner, which was like 2017 with Pierce Brosnan. I really like that one. And then he was Master Splinter in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that came out a couple years back.
Oh, the 2023 one.
Yeah, the Mutant
Yes,
Mayhem.
Mutant Mayhem. Yes, yes.
Yeah, he was Master Splinter in that. He's 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 actually a pretty good actor. Um, Especially when you get some of his later stuff, he's pretty good. Um, but yeah, going back to 1985, man, it's the heart of the 80s, and he had just come off of a movie that he hated. God, I wish I could remember the name of that movie, but he had just come off of a project he didn't like, and he was kind of like, "I'm gonna make my
Heart of the Dragon.
yeah, something like that." It was like some movie that was American.
Twinkle Twinkle Lucky Star.
No, I wouldn't say it was that one, but
The
um,
Protector. I was just listing off the last few movies he made before.
no,
He made
he made
there's six movies that came or five movies that came out in 85.
Alone. Yeah,
And he directed at least one of them.
yeah he was high volume for sure, because I think what it was he was working on multiple movies at the same time. And there's actually a big moment in Police Story where he fell through an awning in Police Story and during the mall scene.
Yes, I was familiar with this scene before I had seen this movie because this is the first time I'd seen it. But I've seen supercuts and like, oh my God, how did Jackie Chan survive this? But I was prepared for that once the setup happened.
Yeah, so there's two big things that take place where he gets injured. One of them is where he jumps through an awning. He falls through an awning, and then he gets up and starts fighting people. And then there's the big one, like the big stunt where he slides down the pole and then crashes through all that glass. With the first one, with the former, he broke his pelvis, I think, or he hurt his pelvis during the fall, but the adrenaline was pumping. He didn't notice it, and then he's hurting. His pelvis is killing him, and he has to go and work on another movie that same day. Because the way they had it set up, the schedule was really interesting to me. He had it set up to where he would work on. They were doing the mall scene specifically. This is what the schedule looked like. They were doing the mall scene, and it's a real mall where patrons would actually go during the day, and they had to shoot the film there at night. And whenever they were done shooting at night, Jackie Chan would just get up and go work on whatever his next project was, whatever his adjacent project was. And
Dude, back when we used to make things in this country, dude.
back when they used to make things in Hong Kong, it's pretty
They've never
interesting.
stopped.
But yeah, so getting into this movie proper, what did you think of it? What was your first impression? Because I believe you've never seen this movie, correct?
I have not. I thought very similar to how I feel about the opening to Beverly Hills Cop, where I was like, God, I wish the movie just was this opening for an hour and a half.
Yes, I know what you mean.
And luckily this time it actually kind of was
Yeah,
because
so
the action doesn't stop.
yeah, it had
It's
a
little talking scenes,
yeah, it has a really good opening.
and then I was like, wait a minute, I've seen this before. Bad Boys stole this.
Yes, that is actually a really good homage that they made for this movie.
And I was like, wait a minute. I love watching older movies and seeing that because, so many times Quentin Tarantino or animated things will redub something and you don't know till you
Yeah,
see it.
yeah.
Just
Um,
love a good reference.
yeah, so the way this movie's structured, I think, is really interesting in a good way and a negative way. The good way is that you've basically got this movie that's sandwiched between a really great opening scene and a really great closing scene of just high octane action intensity. Uh, I mean, the opening is just crazy. Daytime car stunts, just taking down
Squibs.
squibs, taking down this whole village that's held together with paper clips and tape.
This whole Brazilian pavilla that's somehow in China.
Yeah, and then you have the closing scene, which I think is one of the greatest closing action sequences in any
I was,
movie ever.
let me tell you, I was starting to get a little bored.
Yes.
I was clawing my way towards the end because I knew that it was coming.
Yes.
I knew that that scene was coming at some point, and I knew that like there would be like something to look forward to and look at. I did enjoy a lot of the gags, like the slamming his like he slammed his foot and then he hits his head on the door and then he grabs his foot and his hand and he's like ow 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 ow. Like I
Yeah.
like I like some of the gags and stuff, but I was clawing my way to
It's tough. Yeah.
the final set piece.
Well, so that's where I think the negative aspect of the structure comes in is you've got these two great sequences in between, on either end of the movie. And then the stuff that takes place in the middle is pretty hit or miss, I think.
Very.
For me, the plot
I did
is
laugh.
the
I did laugh.
I'll say this, some of it is funny. I don't think the comedic moments work as well as they want them to. I think
No, but is that just that it's, from 85 and in
um
China?
that maybe it's like a different sense of humor,
Uh-huh.
like if you're watching Monty Python or something like that.
Exactly.
Um,
Because I thought the
potentially,
cake bit was pretty funny.
potentially. I do think there's like some good
And we've seen
setups.
that. We've seen that in sitcoms and all kinds of stuff before.
What is it? The comedy is really interesting to me because you have it to where like what's with all like the weird abuse that his girlfriend suffers through? Like when she like when she goes to drive off on her moped, he grabs the back of her backpack or something. She flies off. You know, her shoes get kicked off and like she's all beaten up and stuff. Like
I think she was just. I think she's supposed to be a bad girlfriend, but he kind of seems like a bad boyfriend.
I
I don't know
think
if that's just something that hasn't aged well, also.
yeah,
But the one thing that I found hysterical is the way that Jackie Chan is doing the comedic acting.
yeah, he's very overexpressive for sure.
Because we know later on, Rush Hour and all these other comedies and stuff, he's got better timing and stuff. But watching him raw, just sitting there like doing that, oh, like just them like incredibly expressive, silly faces or painful faces if he's doing the slapsticky stuff, like just hilarious.
Yeah, it is really funny.
Very Homer Simpson.
But the thing that I think is that kind of like holds the movie back for me in some instances is that the comedy kind of clashes with the hyper intensity of some of the other scenes. Like whenever he's going through something goofy at the office or with his girlfriend or in the courthouse, it's always juxtaposed by, you know, the head gang member guy, Mr. Chutao, who's, you know, getting corrupt police officers in his gang, and he's about to kill Selena Fong, played by Bridget Lin, who, you know, has also done a few more movies with Jackie Chan. It's like, man, there's a lot of like intense stuff going on sprinkled throughout, but it's this comedy comes in and it just doesn't fit with the rest of the movie. At least I,
Maybe it's just to juxtapose the extreme violence. Because, like, at the beginning scene, there's the guy who can't get his nerves together and, like, pees himself and
oh my
everything. And I was like,
god.
oh my God, this movie's going to be crazy if we're having
Yeah.
this in the first, like, 5 minutes. And then we get to the thing where his boss is like, all right, tell him about how good your superiors are. And he was like, how the due diligence and planning of our superiors. And then he's getting yelled at and stuff. Like, I was like,
They're
wait,
like,
what?
why? Like, he's like,
What's going on?
he goes, just say this, just say this, just say that it had something to do with the due diligence and the preparedness of your superiors.
And I was like,
And it's,
wait a minute. Am I watching the same movie I was a few
and
minutes ago? So I definitely see what you're saying.
one of the reporters is like, so how did this whole thing get fucked up? And the guy's like, due to the diligence and preparedness of our leaders.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't print that one.
Yeah. Don't print that. But, uh, yeah, the whole movie is very, it's, it's like, it's,
You got it. Sound it out. Take your time.
it's like I love Jackie Chan movies and I love this movie, but I want to love it more. You know what I mean? Like,
Hey man, it's no tuxedos, you know.
yeah, I never seen that, so I
I've never seen that either. I'm
okay.
just looking through his.
You're
He's
just
got
looking
such
through.
a deep filmography that
He's
I
got
just was
a
like, "What's a one
he
word?"
he's been doing films since the 70s.
It's
He,
insane.
you know, he was in Enter the Dragon.
Is he? I have that on VHS as well. I have a bunch
He
of like a Bruce Lee like super thing.
he was an extra. He was one of the guy. He was one of the many dudes that Bruce Lee was like
Just
fighting.
beats up.
Yeah, and that's how they met. And Bruce Lee was obviously a huge inspiration for Jackie Chan. And then of course Jackie Chan would go on to be bigger than Bruce
Nice.
Lee. So
Oh, he's in Cannonball Run too.
you could say you could pick like 5 movies, and I've probably not seen them.
Yeah, he's got so many.
He's got
It's
so
easy to
many
miss.
movies. I've seen a lot. Don't get me wrong. I've seen a lot, but there's so many that
Yeah, I've
it's
probably
easy to
seen like
miss.
10% of these.
Yeah, yeah. I've probably seen about like 20, 30. So it's not
It's
much more.
incredible.
He's just
Very respect. So much respect. So
he's
much blood and
yeah.
sweat and broken bones for what he did, and it's commendable.
Yeah, him and his
But
team are
goodness gracious,
workaholics. Yeah.
did I love and hate this movie?
Yeah, there's a lot of moments where I'm just kind of like, okay, can we get to the next fight scene? Or can we get to, because that's the thing, is like the fight scenes and the stunts and the choreography are
It's
so,
breathtaking.
it's so well
Him hanging
done.
off the bus in the beginning
Yes.
from the umbrella and stuff. I
From
was
the
like very Indiana Jones. Love it.
very, 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 and then like, I love that sequence. I just love that scene with the bus in particular, like the way it ends
It's so great.
with him pointing the gun at the bus, and then the bus comes to a stop, and the two criminals fly out through the front windshield and like hit
I
the.
know every time people were hitting concrete and stuff, I was like, "Holy shit!"
It was real. Like people were
I
really
know.
hitting
I was. That's why
concrete.
I was like. That's why I know that they're really anything, and I haven't seen. I've seen super cuts and stuff, but I haven't seen every single stunt. And every time I was like, "Watch your head! Watch your head! Tuck it!"
Yeah, and that's what's so crazy about watching this is that a lot of this is like they have to get this done in one take,
Yeah,
and
you can't just do this 30 times. They're
y-
gonna die.
yeah, and you got to be able to get things done right the first time, and sometimes things don't get right. And with that particular stunt with the people coming through the windshield of the bus, is that they were supposed to hit the car that was behind Jackie, but the bus stopped too short, and so they just they just hit the asphalt.
Ugh.
Like they're supposed to hit the car to cushion the blow a little bit, but that did not happen. So they end up hitting the road, and Jackie just has to, it's also
Stay in the scene.
he has to stay in the moment. He has to like carry out the rest of the scene, and then once they yell cut, then he has to like go check on his boys. Like, oh my god, are you guys okay? Which I think is a testament to his craft. He's like, okay, it did not go at all the way we wanted it to go, but we're going to just carry out the rest of the mission. And I think when talking about like the stunts in this movie in general, I think you can't go far without talking about the final stunt of the movie, which has so much going on, so much going into it. That I'll first just start by saying, man, I think it's like 15 minutes at the mall is just an adrenaline rush from start to finish.
I checked. I checked how long was left. Partly because I had already been like checking every once in a while, but once we got to the mall, I didn't check again.
Yeah, because you can't look away from the screen or you're gonna miss something.
Exactly, but I just checked the time. I was like, "Oh my gosh, there's like less than 20 minutes left. I just have to keep just we're watching it."
Yeah. The stunt that was done where Jackie jumps off the highest floor of the mall, slides down that pole, and crashes
Made
through.
me feel sick.
Yeah, so that is I think that's to this day one of Jackie's biggest stunts he's done. There were
I mean, when you're
no,
directing a movie, you gotta go big or go home, you know.
he was actually, he has said in interviews that that was one of the times he was so scared to do that he couldn't do it for the longest time. Like he would get up on the edge. There's so many factors, and that's what's so interesting reading this. There's so many factors going into the stunt itself. He has to jump from a crouched position. He can't get a running start and do it. He has to jump in a crouched position from the edge of the balcony to the pole, which is an 8-foot jump. And he has to slide all the way down the pole. There's no safety wires or nothing like that. If he missed the pole, he would have died.
Just insanity.
Just insanity.
It just makes my skin crawl thinking about it.
And the the lights that were hung up around the pole, like all the different like bulb lights, string lights, they were hung up. They were supposed to be powered by a car battery, like a small generator car battery, but to simulate the illusion of being actual hung up string lights. But the car battery wasn't powerful enough to power all the lights. So what they ended up doing is they plugged it into a wall socket. Well, that kind of overpowers the lights, and so you've got these iridescent bulbs that are
Just exploding.
they're wrapped around this pole. The pole is now super fucking hot. The bulbs that are wrapped around the pole are super fucking hot. The bulbs are encased in glass, which are going to be popping and snapping as Jackie is sliding his way down this hot pole, getting slightly electrocuted on his way down. Something they didn't really account for until the day of.
They just don't make human beings like this anymore.
No, no. And then he has to crash through, at the bottom, he has to crash through a glass house or something, whatever it was, that is made
They
of.
just added that there. It didn't need to be
They
there.
didn't need to be there. They just added it there. And it's made of sugar glass, which is not the same as your typical prop glass. And the difference is that the prop glass is really easy to shatter. Sugar glass is about the same thickness as regular glass. But it's
just slamming through a real window.
But it's supposed to break as easily as prop glass. It's just they want it to look as authentic as real glass, so that you have sugar glass. And he has to crash through that, but because it's the same thickness, it can still cut you like real glass.
Incredible.
So all
they just
of these
made it
things,
as dangerous as it possibly could be.
and what's even funnier about it, the final take that they use in the movie is it's only one take. So, but the take,
the final take,
the single take they used in the movie was Jackie was sitting up on the balcony. He did not want to go. He was kind of scared. He thought he was going to get back down, and then he said he was going to nod his head and give a shout, and that was going to be his signal that he was going to do it. But somebody had yelled action, like I guess mishearing him or something. So he had to do it in that moment. So when you see him in the movie, he does like a head nod and a shout. That was him going through with his plan and then committing to the stunt after the cameras already started rolling, which is just insane.
I just couldn't do it.
I would never. I think
never.
Maybe when I was younger and I didn't have like a wife and kids, then maybe I consider putting my life in danger like that.
I don't have any of those things, and I still wouldn't do
it. Yeah, it'd be tough. It'd be tough to kind of do it.
Heights freak me out enough. I can't. It's just extra danger and heights. Yeah. No, thank you.
And I think the biggest thing he messed up when he did that stunt is he fucked up one of his vertebrae. So like for years after the fact, he would have like, you know, just back pain and like one of his like L4s or something. Horrendous. Yeah. Lifelong. He suffered a lifelong injury, because of that. So.
And I've seen the clip a billion times, and now I've watched the full form movie, and worth it.
Yeah, it's good. I'd say the rest of the fight scene choreography throughout that mall scene, I could just sit here and talk about the mall scene for an hour. It's so good. It's so good.
All the hand-to-hand combat is just so fun. Because it's not necessarily real fighting, because they're like clasping hands this way, backwards, forwards, flip around this way.
Yeah.
But it's just such a fun art form in dance almost.
Yeah, for sure. It's like you said, it's very much an art form, and the style of it is what really helps the movie stand on its own.
I love the sound effects.
Yeah, the yeah, that stuff's so cool. Like it's like whenever like the legs snap for a kick, it's like
It's incredible because the sound design is so great for the fighting and stuff, but everybody sounds like they were like redubbed over.
Yeah, I think the only one that did you watch the dub?
No, I watched it in Chinese. That's why I was like, it's even in that it feels like they have other actors like doing the dialogue.
I see what you mean. Yeah, I also watched the sub. I definitely see what you mean. I think again, the sound design is another one of those things that kind of comes down to like, man, it's really good during the fight scenes. It's really good during the action scenes. But then you get to like the scenes where it's like you know, the comedy scenes, then the sound design kind of gets ass because then you've got like the goofy music playing. Um,
But I did love the suspenseful music, or just bum bum, pew, bum bum, pew.
very 80s, very 80s.
Very, very 80s. It almost felt like they were playing the Terminator song in reverse.
That's funny. Speaking of Terminator, this is a small tangent, but we definitely got a. I'd say for our year anniversary, we should probably do Terminator 2.
I mean, it's one of the biggest action films ever, isn't it?
Yeah, one of the biggest action film sequels. I just
Ever.
I just meant for our anniversary because we started with the first Terminator,
Yeah.
and I
And
thought,
I've always been more partial to Terminator 1, but God, Terminator 2 is just so, it just slap it between my knees, you know what I'm saying?
yeah. So if you're good with that, we'll do that on. I have to look and see what the anniversary is, but whenever we do the anniversary, we should do Terminator 2.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice side tangent, buddy. Shake
Do,
hands on it.
yep. Do the screen.
Yep.
There you go.
Good screen. All right. Anyways, moving on.
Jackie Chan.
Barry, Jackie Chan. How many shoes do you think he went through during this movie?
Why do you ask that?
I don't know. It's just something I thought when he was like running on concrete and like on the car and stuff. I was in, various scenes. He's just doing stuff,
That is true.
running. And where I was just like, I don't, it's just a thought I had where I was like, I wonder how many shoes he went through in this scene.
Just
I
doing
wonder how
all
many
his different
shoes he went through in
stunts.
this scene.
Yeah, not especially during when that scene where he's chasing the bus.
That's yeah, especially that is when that's probably where it started, and then every other time where his feet had something to do, I was like, yeah, see, kicking those people right there, he probably needed a second shoe again.
He probably fucked his shoe up right there. That's such a
Yeah,
funny
right there.
thought. That is such a funny thought. I
Hey, this movie was starting to drag.
yeah, I mean that is what's so fascinating to me is that I don't think the plot is bad,
No,
but I think
it's very
there's
standard, very procedural. Seen it
seen it
before.
before, but
It's all of the strange choices that they try to
yeah,
make it more unique, but it's the same kind of thing that we've already talked about, where it's like the comedy juxtaposes the action, or vice
yeah.
versa.
Well, I think there's another thing you can discuss is the structure of the plot itself, not necessarily the sequencing, but just how certain things don't necessarily I mean, just don't really make sense in the grand scheme of things in terms of why is this happening now at this point in the movie. And I think the biggest example of that is whenever suddenly it becomes it's a framing plot. All of a sudden is the bad guy starts to frame Jackie Chan for a murder, but we're already like an hour and a half into the movie.
Which is hilarious because that's what I was like. That's what I knew of the movie, and I was waiting for that to happen so long that I thought I was like had mixed up two Jackie Chan movies.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the plot summary of the movie. A virtuous Hong Kong police officer must clear his good name when the drug lord he is after frames him for the murder of a dirty cop. And it's like
Hmm.
that summary does not take place until an hour and a half into the movie. So
Which is crazy
for the
because he's
first
kind of a bodyguard for most of the movie.
yeah, he's pretty much a bodyguard for most of the movie, or at least for a section of the movie. This film takes place in these really weird sections.
How many
First,
days is this supposed to be?
I don't know. That's a good question too.
That's also something I was wondering.
Because it feels like it all happens relatively quickly, but like you never
Oh,
know.
I forgot it's my birthday.
Yeah, like it's like I never know how long, say, the first opening sequence with the bus, how long is that supposed to happen? Because you go from that sequence to the trial sequence, and you're like, how long has it been? Because this dude's already on trial.
Yeah,
How
that's another thing I was gonna bring up because I don't know
I
if the Chinese judicial system is just that quick.
yeah, I was gonna say I don't know how they do things in Hong Kong. I don't know. I don't know. I guess because it was a high profile case, they launched it to the front of the docket, but things were pretty intense in terms of speed.
Jackie Chan was behind the camera and told them they had to. Who knows?
How weird is it? And this is such an interesting plot element too. I don't know if I've ever seen this in a plot before. This movie, but in order to convince Selena, Bridget Lynn's character, that she needs a bodyguard, Jackie Chan hires his buddy from the police force to act like a murderer.
and then knocks him out.
and then gets him beat up and then knocks him out and sends him on his way. And that convinces her that she needs a
Almost gets
bodyguard.
murdered.
And then that same night actually does get attacked by guys, by a whole gang of dudes from the main bad guy. And then later in the movie, she finds out that they're actually that first guy that tried to tried to murder her was actually one of his buddies. And then she does that whole setup with the tape recorder where she makes it sound like they're having sex or something. And then he plays,
I wasn't following.
and then she disappears. He can't find her, so he takes that tape recorder, plays the tape in court. Because then all of a sudden the movie becomes a court drama, and we've got objections, and we've got the goofy way the dudes are dressed, with the wigs. Because I'm pretty sure by this point Hong Kong was still owned by, was still under the control of British rule. And so like the whole wigs thing is very British.
I did think it was funny looking.
Yeah. So like the movie just has like these sections of, I'm gonna have a really cool opening action sequence here. Now all of a sudden it's a My Bodyguard type movie with Whitney Houston, and it's comedy and it's funny, haha, or it's not even like funny, haha. It's like funny, stupid. Like it's very slapsticky.
You know what we like to call this in the biz?
What's that?
Having too much dip on your chip.
Yeah, having too much dip on your chip.
Way too much.
Way too much.
Got the ratios all wrong.
And then you've got the courtroom drama. Then you've got the framed police story drama. And then you've got the final action sequence at the mall. This movie is very good in parts. I think I don't want to say that people that think this movie is a masterpiece are wrong. I am just one of those people that can look back on this movie and be like, as a film, no, this is not a perfect film.
But God, does it have some moments.
But God, are its action scenes almost pretty much perfect. The mall scene, I think, is perfect.
It's gorgeous.
And what's even crazier is this is Jackie Chan's favorite movie that he's ever done.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
He's gorgeous in this.
He's a very handsome man.
God, does he look so good?
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. He directed it, he co-wrote it, he starred in it. It's got some of his best stunts in it. And it was a huge success for him. It was right, like I said, it was right after a movie he didn't like doing, but it was a huge success for him in Hong Kong. So it makes sense that this would be like one of his favorite movies, and it would go on to have like its own legacy. Like I think he did like 4 or 5 sequels for this movie. I even started Police Story 2, which I was hoping to finish before we did the show.
You psychopath.
I know. I was gonna watch a whole nother movie.
You can hardly finish a movie in one sitting, and you're just like, let's see if I can get to it.
Well, I was watching it, and then it suffers a lot of the same problems as the first movie, which I think can be said for a lot of Jackie Chan movies, where the action is top tier, the plot and the pacing can use work.
It happens.
It happens. But the synopsis for that one is basically just Jackie Chan. The events of the last movie had just happened, and Jackie Chan's coming off of like a suspension or something, or he's a traffic cop. They demoted him to traffic cop because of all the stuff that happened.
The classic.
Yeah, classic trope.
Classic demotion trope.
Yeah, police. I mean, which it kind of makes sense if you think about it in the context of this movie. Police Story proper is he did a lot of stuff. He's done a lot of stuff that was.
Yeah, he should be in a lot of trouble.
He held his captain hostage, or his police commissioner hostage, or whoever that guy was.
He destroyed a mall and a village.
Destroyed a mall, destroyed a village. He did a lot of stuff.
He obstructed traffic and all kinds of stuff.
he circumvented the law multiple times, and
to his own greedy demise.
Yeah, it makes sense that he would at the very least get demoted. So that's how Police Story 2 starts off, and the main bad guy gets out of jail. So
does he get into a speed type situation immediately?
Um, no, which is funny. There's not really any car chases at the start of the movie. I've only gotten like halfway through the movie, so I can't tell you.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't
I
tell
was gonna
you.
say,
I can't tell you if there's like anything crazy that happens with a good car chase or not.
yeah, I was just thinking that that would be the perfect setup if we did demote him to traffic cop, and then he's got to stay on a bus that has to stay above 50 miles an hour.
They had the setup, I think, in the first opening sequence. Like he was like there were all these trucks that were like committing traffic infractions, and and the music makes you think they're bad guys, and there's this lone cop riding up on them on a motorcycle, and we know it's Jackie Chan. I mean, like we know it's eventually him. We don't know it's him at first because you don't see his face, but you know it's somebody, and they set it up to where it could have been a cool action sequence where he's jumping from like truck to truck, beating people up. They don't do any of that, but I'm just thinking like they could have, and it would have made sense. Um,
Could
any,
happen.
but anyway,
But anyway,
yeah. So good movie. Jackie Chan. Looking forward to seeing him this year with his new release of the Karate Kid, new movie Karate Kid, starring Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan. That's gonna be fun. Um, and yeah,
love it.
love it. Final thoughts on Police Story?
Really good movie. Glad I finally saw one of the classic Jackie Chan's. Really good stuff.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, I feel the same way. It's a great Jackie Chan movie. It's one of the quintessential Jackie Chan movies. I think you have a handful of like Jackie Chan. If you're gonna watch Jackie Chan movies, there's probably like a handful that you need to see. And I could just list those off right now. That's probably Rush Hour for American audiences. It's probably Rush Hour, Police Story, Rumble in the Bronx, Legend of the Drunken Master, and I mean, if you want to get more American, it's Shanghai Noon. If you want to get more Hong Kong, it's probably Super Cop, um, or Project A. It's kind of up in the air. But speaking of suggestions,
You're saying that Panda Plan isn't in the list?
no.
Oh, okay, my fault.
City Hunter might be in the list, but
But
it's up in the air.
I think you want to suggest a good list of martial art films or
I
something.
do have a small little list I made here. This is the top 5 martial art movies recommendations that I made. So, getting into this proper, I wanted to go ahead and start off with 5 movies that I would recommend to somebody who's not really seen a lot of martial arts movies. So, somebody like you, somebody like somebody at home who wants to get into them. This, I think, is a good video for you. And these are just ranked in no particular order, although I do think um, the number one is the one you should probably see the first. But since we're on Jackie Chan, I got Jackie Chan Legend of the Drunken Master, which is also known as Jackie Chan Drunken Master 2. It's actually a sequel to the first Drunken Master, but the sequel is much better. You don't have to see the first one to get this one. They don't really cross over or interact with each other, so you can watch this one without any problem. This has, in my opinion, the best final fight scene in any Jackie Chan movie. This has some of the best fight scenes, period, in a Jackie Chan movie. It's not very stunt heavy. For those of you that are really into stunts, this is more focused on the martial arts and the fight sequences. This has some of the best. Number 4 is going to be Enter the Dragon. This is a quintessential movie. This is Bruce Lee's biggest movie. I wouldn't necessarily say it's one of his best movies, but this is the biggest one. This is the most popular. This is the one that everybody pretty much knows. Enter the Dragon is the swan song for a lot of people. And it kind of opened up a lot of the tropes, like the tournament trope in some movies, like the whole like ancient tournament, fight to the death type stuff. And plus, I think if you're gonna watch any martial arts movie, you have to watch a Bruce Lee movie. He's one of the progenitors of the genre, and I feel like it's mandatory that you have to at least see one Bruce Lee movie. And if you're not gonna see something like Way of the Dragon or Game of Death, then you should probably watch Enter the Dragon. Number 3 is going to be Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. This one is one that I've only seen once, but it is a great movie. The choreography is beautiful. The movie is very artsy, and I think that's why I put it at number 3. is because it is a great movie that is much better put together than something like Enter the Dragon and Legend of the Drunken Master, which I think are not very plot relevant movies. They are, but the action sequences are where it's supposed to shine. And I think Enter the Dragon is more about the legacy of that movie than it is anything about the plot or the action. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is very plot centric and action centric, but it's also very artsy, and I think that can be a turnoff for some people with the wire work and whatnot, and some of the cinematography. But great work by Ang Lee, who we're going to be getting into a little bit here sometime soon. But yeah, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, really great movie, really recommended. Number two, I got Ip Man, starring Donnie Yen. I feel like Donnie Yen is such a sleeper agent when it comes to martial arts movies. He's one of the biggest names. I feel like he should be recognized a lot more. He's got some great hits. He's got Kung Fu Killer. He's got Iron Monkey. He is in so many great martial arts movies, and I think the Ip Man series is one of his best, probably his most iconic series, honestly. The first Ip Man movie is a great period piece. It is a great story related to Bruce Lee. It's about the story of the guy that supposedly trained Bruce Lee, Ip Man. Great action, great plot. The acting is actually really good in these movies. Um, and I think that's something that really ties these types of movies together is if you have the trifecta of great acting, great story, and great action, you have got a great movie on your hands. And I think you have that with Ip Man. Some honorable mentions that I have here. Some of these are going to be so. I mean, these are more just like if you're hesitant about any of these other movies for whatever reason, these are other great places to start. Or if you watched any of the other movies, these are other places you can go. I've got Warrior, starring Tom Hardy and Joel Edgerton. Story about two brothers that compete in an MMA tournament, uh, basically for glory and money and stuff like that. And they've got a lot of their own interpersonal problems that are going on. I think it's a really good movie. It's a really outside the box. When you think of martial arts movies, it's more MMA than kung fu or karate or something like that. And I think it's important to include movies like that because those are technically martial arts movies. And I think we got to spread some love, spread it around. Next, I got Blood and Bone. Michael J. White is, in my opinion, one of the modern martial arts movies masters. I think he's one of like the most important ones outside of somebody like Scott Adkins. And I think Blood and Bone is probably his best movie in my opinion. It's got some of the best action. It's not really an acting heavy movie, but it doesn't need to be because the action's so good. Next, I've got The 36th Chamber of Shaolin. This is a 1978 movie. This just kind of goes back to the same era as Enter the Dragon, the 70s kung fu movies that are really important to the genre. They really inspired a lot of things like the Jackie Chan movies, the Wu-Tang Clan, just this like Renaissance era of movies that you think of when you think of something like 36 Chamber of Shaolin, you think of Enter the Dragon, you think of the Five Venoms, think about all these classic Chinese movies, the Shaw Brothers type movies or Golden Harvest type movies. Is like Golden Harvest is the one that did Enter the Dragon and Police Story, for example. So you've got a lot of these movie production companies that specialize in these types of movies, and I think those are good recommendations. My number one recommendation here is going to be Fist of Legend, starring Jet Li. This is a movie that is actually a remake of a Bruce Lee movie called Fist of Fury. Follows a lot of the same plot beats, but it very much stands on its own due to Jet Li's incredible performance and his incredible. The choreography is the sharpest out of all these movies. The plot is actually a really good plot. It's a good period piece. There's so many good things about this movie. I could list them all. Great final fight scene, great middle fight scene, great opening fight scene. I mean, it's just got so many great fight scenes that I don't think it falters in any way. And that is going to be my list for the top 5 martial arts movies recommendations. And let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Okay. So that is going to be it from us. I think we can go ahead and reveal what we're going to do next, right? You're barely holding on, aren't you? Okay, yeah. We're gonna be doing Ang. So I mentioned Ang Lee earlier. We're gonna be doing Ang Lee's Hulk from 2003.
You won't like me when I'm angry.
Exactly. It was Talbot. You don't like me when I'm angry. And Talbot's like, I don't like you now.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna be doing Hulk. That's gonna be our first superhero movie we look at. I'm pretty sure.
Pretty sure.
Pretty sure. I'll have to look at it, but I'm pretty sure it's our first superhero movie we're doing. Um, Sci-fi action, so it counts. I'll be really looking forward to doing that. And then after that, I think I've got some special guests lined up. That
Special guest.
Yeah, that want to do the show with us.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so we might do two special guest appearances back to back after Hulk.
I'm gonna cry.
All right, so that's gonna be it, guys. So peace.
See ya.